Hello, welcome to my channel, I'm glad to see you. Man, I miss Road Rash. This game was very much a product of the 90s Attitude era. And just like aforementioned era, it was gone with the turn of the millennium. What began as a violent take on bike racing and a massive success on the Sega Genesis, it is now nothing more than a cult classic that most people forgot about. So let's talk about it. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe so that you don't miss any of my future videos. And with that out of the way, let's begin. For some reason, I always thought this game was both on the SNES and the Mega Drive/Genesis. But no, it's actually exclusive to the Sega console, which to be honest makes sense. Sega was after all the cool kids console back in the 90s. No wonder the series migrated mostly to the PlayStation after that, continuing the trend of being a cool game for the cool kids. In Road Rash, we win races by resorting to violence. Differently from the kiddie Mario Kart games on the Nintendo, in which you win races by resorting to violence. And although I did play a bit of this game on the Mega Drive, the first one being my personal favorite, I only ever synced my seat on the series after it launched on the PlayStation. But before we get there, let's talk about Road Rash on the 3DO.
The real 3DO system from Panasonic.
Back in 2009 I think, I was lucky enough to find a 3DO on a thrift store for 15 bucks. I played the hell out of it. The three games I sank the most time into were Gex, Road on Track presents the Need for Speed, and yes, that was its full legal name. And although I do not condone that naming, it is too funny to ignore. The Need for Speed. Not any Need for Speed, mind you. And of course, Road Rash. These three were essentially the killer apps for the 3DO, and let me tell you, Road Rash absolutely kicked my ass on the 3DO. It was the Dark Souls of combat racing games with motorcycles. I could barely finish any races on this game, let alone finish on the top 3, and I never truly understood why. I thought it was just a skill issue on my part. Lo and behold, I decided to play on the PS1 to grab some footage for this video, and to my surprise suddenly I'm actually cracked to the game? What the hell is going on? Didn't take long to solve the case, as you can see on the side-to-side comparison. The frame rate on the PS1 is so much better than the 3DO version. No wonder I couldn't do anything on that version of the game. How do you expect me to react so quickly in such a fast-paced game if you don't give me enough frames to do so, EA? God, I hate them so much. Anyways, although the PS1 version plays better, it doesn't sound better, since the 3DO version has a goated soundtrack, featuring music from Soundgarden, and the PS1 does not. Not that it matters, since the stage music is garbage on both versions anyways. Fast forward 4 years and we get to Road Rash 3D on the PS1. And I'm not gonna lie, I don't have much experience with this game. I like the fact that we have 4 gangs and many different bikes, but the gameplay is so bad, and although the focus is on racing in this game, not the combat, it doesn't do neither one right. The cutscenes are cool, I guess? 1 year later and we get Road Rash 64, and you get a cookie if you guess which console it was released for.
Who's that Pokemon? It's
Nintendo 63?
This game was not developed by EA, and it's so weird to play. It's very slow, with very archaic combat mechanics, but I guess the engine it uses was alright, because gameplay wise, it felt like a step up from Road Rash 3D. We were starting to get there. A year later, in 2000, we got Road Rash Jailbreak, and this is the one I like the most. You can see that it uses the same engine as Road Rash 3D and 64, but it's refined now. The frame rate is worse than 64, but the gameplay feels much better, and the combat was finally perfected. It doesn't feel like an afterthought like it did on previous games. The combat here is not just a back of the box blip, it felt just as important to the game as the racing itself. We get 3 buttons for combat now, a light attack, a heavy attack, and a kick button. And we can combo with them for massive damage. It feels so good to connect a 3-hit combo on an opponent and see him flying off his bike. Ha! Take that! And don't get me started on the weapons. We got such a great variety of weapons and they actually feel different from one another. And these weapons also have combos and heavy attacks, all of them distinct. My favorite is the crowbar. I like to invoke my inner Gordon Freeman in this game.
Hello, Gordon Freeman.
Oh, and let me tell about another great new feature of the game, the disrespect button. Every time you press it, your character will curse at the other racers or tease them. And it's not there just to be very funny, which it is. It actually has a use, which is to upset the other racers, which makes them try to approach you. That helps us a lot to make it easier to engage in combat with them, and to make racers in front of you to slow down to try to establish dominance. It's so much fun. I had no idea what they were saying when I was a kid, but I memorized most of the lines.
Hasta la vista, K-Man.
Fight!
Feeling good, baby.
Freak! Beat like a redheaded stepchild. Hold on, toga, 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 fool! The combat in this game feels so good, it's so fluid. And it feels great to finally find a weapon that jives with you and learn the best ways to use it. Oh, and by the way, you can actually steal the weapons from the opponents.
Yoink!
And there's no better way to release endorphins than to steal another racer weapon and then use the same weapon you stole to beat him senseless.
So good and tasty?
I'm telling you, nothing feels better. Scientists are still trying to develop something better than that. I heard something called sex is being developed, but I don't think it's out yet. The game has a very impressive draw distance for the PS1. You can see the track for miles. And the scenery is varied and interesting to race at. It's especially varied in the later races since you travel greater distances. And because of that you pass through many different set pieces of the map, which is interconnected. This game has a story mode, multiplayer, and an extra mode in which you play as a cop. The story mode features 30 races, divided between 3 different tiers, so to speak. First we choose our gang and character. There's the Cafe Boys, the young and reckless sport bike racers, and there's the Desades, the BDSM and YMCA enjoyers. After 10 races, we have to complete a special race, and if we win that, we advance to the next rank.
Hunt, this is the big time. This is the gauntlet. Are you ready for the gauntlet?
Is the gauntlet ready for me? That's the question!
We begin as a grunt, and in this tier, the racing is very chill since the bikes are relatively slow. In the lieutenant class, the bikes get faster, so our reaction has to keep up in order to survive. And in the captain class, things get nasty. The opponents are more aggressive than ever and the game becomes fast. Very fast. Check out this comparison, you see that the difference in speed is considerable. And because of that, this game becomes a nightmare to complete. There's a lot of rubber banding, which is expected considering the game wants the player to engage in combat with the NPCs. It's a similar tactics used in the Burnout games years later, but because of that rubber band, if you crash, the chances of a comeback is very low. So you end up restarting races constantly, which is a pain in the So it joins my collection of games that I love to start, but hate to finish. Like Need for Speed Underground and the entire Midnight Club franchise. Not that it's necessary to finish this game, the story it tells is very inconsequential. It's about Spaz and Punch, 2 bikers who gets in a few kerfuffles until one of them, Spaz, gets captured. Then we have to rescue him from jail, which is the last race in the game.
I am breaking my buddy out of jail, and I wonder what kind of a machine you could recommend.
Well, take the sidecar.
I'm not gonna lie, it's very cool to use a sidecar on the last race to help him escape. But I'm not sure it warrants the headache of actually getting a top 3 in the last 10 races of the game. Especially since we can use the sidecar in the multiplayer, saving us the trouble. The other game mode is 5-0, in which we control a cop. Our objective is to arrest the main members of each gang, or fuel up our arrest quota. It's a pretty fun side game, I like it. And it's a pity that I can't put the game songs in this video due to copyright reasons, because the soundtrack of this game is very good. Differently from the Road Rash game on the 3DO that went with big name bands, in Jailbreak we get a bunch of bands that I never heard about, before or after this game. And the songs are great, they fit this game general vibes like a glove. Trust me, if you like a hard rock, this game soundtrack does not disappoint. But that was it for the series. After this game, we only ever got GBA port and a Java game, and it was dead forever, which is a crying shame. There is also a spiritual successor called Road Redemption on last gen consoles and PC. And don't get me wrong, I really like this game, played it for many hours on the PS4, but it's way too focused on combat. Racing is almost like a side activity, even the tracks are procedurally generated, which to me proves that the racing is not the priority here. So all that is left is to hope that Road Rash is back someday, but I won't keep my hopes up. It's EA after all, if it can't generate the company a gazillion $, it's usually not worth to them. But what about you guys? Have you played any of the games in the series? Let me know in the comments below, I really like interacting with you guys. But that's it for this video. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like button and consider subscribing because I intend on making many more videos like this one. But that's it for now, bye bye.